Hello, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. My name is ISAIAH-ZAVION Boozer Evans. This is
Bobby.
S- Bobby.
I'm your cousin.
Bobby, your last name?
Oh, strong.
Yeah, Bobby Strong.
Because I have the muscle.
There we go. And we are here. It is June 30th. It is sort of late at night. It's very late. What time is it?
Oh, yes. Beautiful view, though.
Beautiful view of Chicago, Illinois. And we wanted to have a chat, discuss something that's really important.
Get down and dirty.
It's really important, I think, for us to discuss and talk about. That being limiting people's access to you.
What does that mean?
To me, that means limiting people's access to you is setting mindful and intentional boundaries that not only protect, but show them that you have self-respect. When you limit people's access to you, and sometimes we limit people's access to us and it's a trauma response, but this is a more holistic, healthy way. When you see someone, we're just gonna get into it, when you see someone treating you the way you know you shouldn't be treated,
Right.
when due to their own trauma, their own pain, their own suffering, they begin to belittle you and denigrate your life, the things that you want, the things that you
And it doesn't
desire.
always have to be big.
No.
It comes from the smallest things.
Yes.
So a lot of people like to ignore that. They think that when someone disrespects them or belittles them, they expect for that to come from a verbal stance. Belittlement doesn't have to be always verbal. It can be the smallest thing.
Absolutely.
Such as not valuing your time.
Absolutely.
Not fully respecting your presence when your presence is there. So it doesn't have to be verbal. If I'm speaking with someone and their attention is not fully where it should be when I'm speaking, if they're on their phone, if they're texting, if they're looking off somewhere, that can be a sign of belittlement. It can come through being left on red and being left on red. I don't like it. Nobody likes it.
No.
But most people miss those little red signs. And that turns into a bigger problem of leading into an unhealthy attachment, I feel. Because they have no clear vision of, I think they recognize the signs, but they belittle the signs also. Like, oh, well, it was just a text. It was just that one time. It's not that big. I'm overthinking it. And you have to stop saying you're overthinking at some point.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, if you always say I'm overthinking, it's like you're taking out what you know is true. What you know is real, what you know is disrespect or belittlement, just to get something that you hope that person has. And that's not how you should go.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's not how you should go.
That's not how, yeah.
If we pick up on the little signs along the way, then it would avoid us giving access to people that never deserved it in the first place.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because, and a lot of the times we give people access to us, to our mental, emotional, spiritual energy, because like you said earlier, we believe they have something they can give us that can solve the childhood trauma that we're trying to unpack, which is why we begin to attract people into our life.
And people don't know that because they don't recognize their trauma.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Once we begin, as we're currently doing, beginning to unpack that childhood trauma,
Yeah.
you start to recognize, I wrote in my journal the other day, you start to recognize that that our minds can only hold so much information, pockets of information, right? So we ascribe people by our past. And someone new may walk into your life and they may have some of the same exact ideology, mannerisms, energy as, let's say, a parent of yours.
Yes.
Who was filled with so much trauma, filled with so much self-hatred, filled with so many demons that they're fighting, they're battling with.
Right.
Now that's in this next person in the universe. God, inner divine energy, is giving you the opportunity to wrestle with that. Sometimes, though, we attract people in our life because we believe we can fix our past through them. So because we haven't fully dealt with the trauma and pain and hurt and desire of our past, we begin to divine energy, we begin to attract people into our lives, and we try to fix them, control them, make them into who we want them to be, rather than just accepting who they are. And from that point, and this all goes back to limiting your access to some people, because when the opposite of that is becoming unhealthily attached to people.
And the sad part about attachment is you truly don't be as attached as you believe, but you only as attached as far as your vision can see. So you think that you're so attached to someone deep, or so, and I know in my life, I thought I was attached to some people so deep until I had time. And I'm talking months or a year. Sometimes it's years. Sometimes it's years. I had that with my father. Years to understand it wasn't you. It was them. But it's years of that, because you constantly, with my relationship with him, you constantly yearn for my dad. So any piece of crumb you could get from them, you take it and you run with it. You get excited about it. And it's like, I don't deserve this. But if we don't fix that, right, that's traumatic. Most people see trauma a certain way, but trauma is something that has affected you in such a way that it changes who you are in a way. It's like a Band-Aid on you.
Absolutely.
That it goes that deep. And that can go anywhere from not getting the love from a parent all the way to a parent restricting a child in a way. That could be trauma. And some people wonder why their kids go buck wild. It's not that the child wants to go wild, but they never felt free. So they're going to do everything that feels free. So whenever, back to my dad, me looking for any crumb of love, if I don't fix that traumatic time period in my life, I'm going to give access to those people that gives me a crumb of love.
Absolutely.
Because I never fixed that.
Exactly.
I never recognized that I'm worth more than that. Therefore, I'm going to keep chasing after that, hoping that the crumb becomes a whole cookie.
Absolutely.
But it won't.
A crumble cookie.
Right.
And that's real.
Yes.
Keep going, actually, if you want to.
It's crazy. I mean, so many people don't realize they're stuck in the same stage that they entered in 20. And now they're 40. And they think because years have passed that they're in different stages in their life. Because the career is doing well. The family is doing well. Oh, I got the car that I want. I got the income. but you're still stuck in the same stage.
Still stuck in the same stage.
You're 40.
Because you never wrestled with those demons, and you never knew how to set healthy boundaries. And those are those generational those are the real generational curses.
Right.
When you don't have that emotional intelligence and wherewithal to be able to say, wait a minute, I'm being treated wrong. And so many people have learned to accept that, especially in our communities. So many people have learned to accept being treated wrong, being belittled. And a lot of these,
they become comfortable too.
Yes. And a lot of the, especially in the black community, we see so many secrets in these families, right? So many, like, shh, don't say that. I know that your uncle did this to you when you were younger, but that's not my brother.
Right.
Like, let's just not talk about Uncle Charlie.
Let's not talk about what makes it uncomfortable.
Exactly. Because then we have to address it, and then we have to set boundaries, and that becomes very uncomfortable.
Yes.
When you have to limit that access.
Those secrets.
That fear of needing them again, of wanting them again, and watching a family crumble cookies.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Why family is so disoriented. Your secrets was never solved. And we have this thing where, yes, it's good to look up to older people.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's good to get that.
Sure, yeah.
But you have to understand, the body has no choice but to age. You see 70-year-old aunt, uncle, whatever is the main arc of the family. But it's really the 20-year-old trying to help heal the 5-year-old.
Absolutely.
They just got used to it. Now, throughout the whole family, you see, I mean, this is why you see so many people that are older, especially in black communities and stuff, they got just a line of broken relationships. Trauma, passed down, access. And what's bad about it is generations believe that's the way to go. So they give access in that way. Why? Because you have the arc. This is how they did it. So that's how I recognize love. That's how I recognize respect. That's how I recognize my presence, because that's how they recognize it.
Exactly.
And not only that's not how they recognize it, but passed it down. So this is now a family thing.
Intergenerational trauma passed down body to body to body, and we believe that love looks a certain way, and that's why we begin to tolerate it. But you want to be in a space where you are celebrated, not tolerated.
Just because you're used to seeing something doesn't mean that's right.
Yes, absolutely.
Doesn't mean that that's where you should stay. It doesn't mean that that's the position you should operate from. Just because you're used to it. Some people be like, oh, well, I'm used to seeing this type of love. I'm used to seeing this type of access. So I'm going to make my family based off of that. I'm going to go after love based off of that. That's where you have to have that internal look. We know what love should be. The biggest battle is seeing if we deserve it. Because the problem is, when you're used to the wrong thing, you treat that thing as if it's right. Then when somebody comes along to treat you right, you see it as wrong. Oh, you're after me. You're doing this. No, you never recognized.
You never knew what actual healthy, magnanimous love felt like. And now that it's in front of you, you are scared out of your mind.
Or you think there's a trick.
Yes, or you think there's no way you can be given that love.
There's no way.
I don't deserve. It's like, I don't deserve that love.
There's no way.
And that's why so many people settle, right? They settle for what they are. They settle for so much less than what they deserve, because it all comes back. They did not limit their access. Limiting your access looks like stating your values. Looks like stating your goals. looks like stating where it is you want to be in your life, where it is you want to go in your life, who it is you want in your life. And once you began sitting down with a journal, or just throughout the day thinking about the things that you want, the people that you want, the situations you want to be in, whatever God or higher creator you serve or believe in, or divine energy, once you have a lot of these things and you have a framing device you've created for them, that's going to help you say, okay, if this is the divine, beautiful being I am, if that is who I am, then there's no way that everybody should have access to that.
Right, that's the problem. Most people believe that self-love is going to come one magical moment. This is going to be to the day you go.
We're still battling. I mean, it's an everyday
thing.
It's a
That's
moment
gonna be for the rest
from
of your
the
life.
moment you wake up and look in the mirror and you're like, I don't think I look good.
That's going to be
today.
for the rest of your
The
life.
rest of our lives.
That's where responsibility comes. Just because you don't feel it don't mean you don't deserve it. You ain't going to always feel it. You ain't going to feel like you deserve something.
Absolutely.
But when something is for you, it's going to come to you. So you can't be sitting here, I don't care who you want to date, what you want in your life. When those things are for you, they're going to come at those times.
They have no other choice but to.
And you're trying to limit the access to that and open up the access to trash. What's trash? Well, on your job, your relationship.
Yes.
Oh, they treat me right. They talk to me right. But what do they bring to the table?
And for how long are they going to treat you right?
And how long? Because some people love you so hard so they don't do too much. They don't want to do much.
No. They love you hard in the beginning, then they trap you. Then they trap you.
They trap
and now
you.
you're like, what? You're like, oh, but they love me. No.
They respect me. They cook. They do this. But is your life fulfilled?
Because the problem is as a society, we've gotten so used to receiving the bare minimum.
The bare minimum.
And we think the basic and the
basic,
bare minimum is love.
I'm telling you right now, and I thought about this of how, and I had this. It's nice to hear loving words.
Absolutely.
But that money help you live.
Yeah. It does.
I'm sorry, but if I motivational speak all day, that ain't gonna pay the bills. That ain't gonna feed. That's not going to fulfill in life. And a lot of people be sitting there well, they just talk good and they do this, they do that, but then they make money the enemy. What's up with that? Oh, I don't want to be about that. I don't want to be about that. But your access to who you are, the life that you deserve, you can't keep waiting for the perfect moment because it will never come.
No, it won't. It won't. Unless it's in divine timing, and that is very rare.
But the problem is things that come in divine timing, people limit. Oh, I don't deserve this. It may be a position on your job.
Yep.
It may feel bigger than the world.
I'm not ready.
I'm not ready. You got to be, just because you feel and you think you're not ready, that doesn't mean you're not. You'll be surprised what's in you. You'll be surprised what type of life is meant for you.
When you don't run from it. Because you have to embrace that uncomfortable.
But see, anything good, they rather limit because they're not used to seeing it. They're used to seeing trauma.
Absolutely.
So trauma is the thing that comforts. It's crazy how the things...
Ooh, that's interesting.
The things that we complain about is the same things that we want.
Because instead of limiting other people's access to the glow that we have, we limit our own growth.
We limit it.
We limit our growth and put ourselves in a position to where they can still access us. Because growth, y'all, is scary. When you start to level up monetarily, when you start to level up spiritually, emotionally, physically, when you're having a glow up, when you're looking good, the amount of people who are going to look at you and be like, they really think they're hitting on something. They really ain't nothing.
I'm telling you
ain't
right
nothing.
now.
And they do it, right? because they're jealous and envious of what you have.
Yes.
Instead of being happy for you, instead of being, I'm glad that they got that job. I'm glad that they're going on that tour. I'm glad they're making money. They deserve it. No, because they have a deep rooted, seated insecurity.
They're not happy because they want it for them, but then when it comes for them, they limit the access to it.
Exactly.
You're mad about what somebody else got going on, but then when your opportunities come, you limit those accesses. So you're complaining about what you didn't want, but you desire it.
Yes.
But you don't want to get it.
But you don't want to work to get it.
Or they don't feel comfortable with getting it.
Absolutely.
I'm used to this.
I'm used to this one specific lifestyle, and anything outside of that that's a challenge or that's going to challenge me or that's a little bit uncomfortable, never mind.
If you want to grow.
Exactly.
If you want to grow, you can't keep sitting here and it's so many people be like, ooh, I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them. That's the problem. You trying to show them. Show them. I'm a bad this. Oh, I'm a boss. The guys with the alpha male thing.
But who are you a boss for? Are you a boss for you? Or are you artificially or in a shallow manner leveling up to try and gain validation from those that really shouldn't be validating you in the first place? Because many people have that boss mode, glow up, level up.
Right.
And it's surface level and it never lasts because they were doing it to get revenge.
Oh, you can get boss mode. You can glow up.
You can glow up.
You can come up in your position and all that and still look in the mirror and break down crying.
And hate what you see.
To everybody else, it seemed perfect. To everybody else. But to the person that's actually doing it.
Absolutely.
Money ain't gonna solve it.
Nope.
Your glow up ain't gonna solve it.
Nope.
The problem is your trauma have never been taken care of. So the things that you allow access to, it wasn't because you healed your trauma. It was because you wanted to help show other people what you can do.
Yep.
Who could care less in the beginning.
Couldn't care less.
They could care less. If you did it based off of, I'm healing this trauma, this is what I deserve. Now you can look in that mirror and love it. But when you ignore the trauma and you do it for somebody to validate you, now you're just building onto the trauma. So you can either face it, you can either ignore it. Both will have effects. The trauma isn't going anywhere. But the way your life will turn out will be different. It's hard to face trauma.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people think, again, trauma is the deep thing that affected you so much to the point to where your character has changed in some way.
Absolutely. And it affects the way you behave and treat people now.
Yes.
How you walk, how you show up in a room. Let's say you show up to a business event. It's a room about the size of, let's say, a classroom. There's 30 to 40 industry professionals all over there. There's wine, there's drinks, there's food, there's refreshments. And there are people in there that make a little bit more money than you. And there are people in that make a lot less money than you. But from the moment you walk in that room, you believe that you're not worthy. Yeah. And you believe that everybody in there hates you. And that can easily stem from lack of love that your parents did not give you. Or walking into a classroom when you were 7 years old and people laughing at you because of the outfit you had on.
Yeah.
And that begins to affect what events you're going to go to, who you hang around, how long you stay there, and how much you believe in your ability to exist in spaces. Like you were saying, people stop their blessing.
They stop it.
And it's because of the lack of intergenerational emotional intelligence and what has been intentionally suppressed from some people. It's like, I'm not going to uplift you
Mm.
and invest in you emotionally,
Mm.
because that ain't how I was raised.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it. There's a lot of parents jealous of their kids.
Very jealous of their kids. That is why you ain't nothing, you ain't never gonna be nothing, you ain't never gonna go anywhere. That's exactly what was told to them. Because they can see the supernova. They can see the bursting star, and they want to smuggle it.
That's
they want
why
to make
people
it
gotta
smaller.
be careful when they. I remember I talked it to this person,
Hey, wow.
and I was saying something.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And what he told me was, everybody's household ain't the same. Now it sounds simple, but it hits deep.
Mm-hmm.
Because we approach from our perspective.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you will see other people's households from your perspective.
Mm-hmm. No.
Everybody's households ain't the same.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody ain't got the good parents.
Mm-hmm.
Some people need to get away from their parents. You know,
Absolutely.
family first.
Hey.
Put family 1st.
No.
Sometimes family will break you down quicker than the friend that you just met 2 months ago.
You have to limit your emotional, mental, spiritual access from your family sometimes.
You can't help what runs through your blood, but you can help what you keep around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your tribe is what you create, what you keep around.
Absolutely. And when people choose to stay there, you can't help them.
And I'm trying to figure out where that comes from.
What specifically?
I don't care what religion you look into. Have you ever heard that you are obligated to your family just because blood runs through the same veins?
I mean, it probably comes from some sort of deep ancestorial
family first.
I mean, it probably comes from when we were Neanderthals, and it's like, oh, this is our tribe. No matter what happens, we have to survive. And so that's our natural primal instinct to stick with the people that we know, even if they're toxic.
Just because you're used to it don't mean you keep it around.
And they're not all good for you. They don't all really love you or care about you.
Family will break you down worse than the person you think your ex is toxic. Go talk to the grandmother.
Who has secrets.
We don't talk about the secrets.
Exactly. That she's going to take to her grave. And then that's when you say, limiting my access, goodbye. I am not responding to that text. I am not responding to that phone call because I love myself too much. I'll love y'all from afar. I'll care for y'all from afar, but y'all are over there and I'm right here. And
that's
I love
how you
myself.
find your word.
Exactly. That's how you show self-respect. Self-love.
Who are you?
Exactly.
I'm telling you right now.
All family isn't family. It is
all
family,
a true and when we say all family, we are talking about blood.
Yes.
Strictly blood. The word family is what you create.
Absolutely. Your chosen family, your tribe.
That's it. Some got all these toxic people. Oh, but they my family, so I deal with it. You know how many family members look at people right now, can't stand their success, can't stand their glow up, can't stand nothing. And I'm going to tell you right now, be careful of the people that's congratulating you today, but threw dirt on you yesterday.
Yep.
You think they different. They're not different.
They're trifling.
Yes. They're not different. And I'm going to tell you this. A lot of people did not expect for some people to get out of stages of their life that they now have gotten out of. So, of course, they're going to switch up the attitude. But they're trying to figure out how the hell you got out.
Oh, you got it now. Wow. Oh, I'm so proud. I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it.
That's all fake.
You was so smart, and
That's
I already
all
knew.
fake.
See, I never doubted you. I never doubted you for one. No, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
They're part of the trauma. And some people get tricked by it. Oh, well, let me try to play best friend. No.
Nope.
People show them truth. They show their true self at your words.
When people show you and tell you who they are,
believe it.
Believe them.
we get stuck in the words.
Because once again, we begin to try and change them, which comes from trauma, which comes from our past. But when we can learn, right, to limit our access, to set those boundaries. Look, you're my best friend. But look, there are some things that you do. There are some things that you say. There are some behaviors that you have.
That's right.
That I do not appreciate.
That's right.
You know, you know, you do not have access to these places, and that is not, and like I said earlier, an unhealthy protective barrier you're putting up. That is a sign of self-respect and self-worth,
Right.
because you know
Right.
how people should treat you.
Don't get used to being drained.
No, that's
Don't get
exhausting.
used to
You know how
being-
exhausting that is?
Very.
Just getting used to just people using you. You know how many people have come to me and said things like, everybody comes to me with their problems. Everybody's always asking me.
Because you
their
let
problem.
them. You let them.
Because I guarantee
'Cause you let
that is
them.
that is how you got through your childhood.
You let them. You bought chips out of a store. You bought those chips.
You take on other people's
You let
problems
them.
because that is how you feel valued. People bring their problems to you.
That ain't
and
no friend.
now- exactly. And now they need you. We want to feel needed.
Oh, yeah.
We want to feel wanted. We want to feel loved and desired and desirable.
And I'm telling you right now, narcissism is on the rise.
It's here, baby.
It's a lot
It's
of
here,
there's
baby.
a lot of damaged people seeking for, and a lot of y'all get twisted up into it, and especially in relationships.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they come with the love. They come, but if you sit and listen, you will hear how self-centered they are. I need you. Yes, they're telling the truth. They do need you. They need you for them. They don't care about
Absolutely.
what you need. They need you for them.
Absolutely.
I love you. Of course, you feel a pocket that they've
Absolutely.
been waiting to put somebody in. Or multiple people have been in.
Mm-hmm.
They just found another candidate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it feels good. But in order to control who you give access to in your life, be able to recognize your emotions, but don't always walk around always emotional. Your emotions can really mess you up
They can.
if you don't have them controlled. You have to recognize them to have a healthy mindset, but you have to also not let them run you. Just because something feel good don't mean it is good.
I am feeling, but I am not my feelings.
Right. And some people like, what? No, I love this feeling. I know you do. But
It's a
some of the
feeling.
things that you're going to need to do in your life ain't
It's a
going to feel good.
Nope.
And
Discipline.
the things that we do that's wrong in life do feel good.
Absolutely. I mean, a perfect analogy you can use is food, right?
Yeah.
From the moment we're born, if we started putting natural, holistic, volume-filled, zinc, iron, protein, fiber-filled foods that nourished us, when we taste this Hershey's chocolate and these Skittles and these Micronized, we'd be like, ew, that's disgusting. But because our bodies have gotten so used to it, now things like broccoli and asparagus, nasty, horrible. So when we get used to the toxic,
We let it
we don't
in.
we don't know what it looks like to be
We don't know
gracious.
what toxic look like. That's why we got so much toxic. We can't recognize it.
Because we're so used to it.
And people never give time to recognize
When
it.
you are in toxins, when you are swimming in a pool of blood, when you're swimming, you don't recognize it. It just
You
becomes your
don't.
normal.
It's normal.
And
It becomes some people's feel good.
but here's what becomes real dangerous. When you know it's toxic, but you stay anyway.
Still keep it.
When you say this is real bad for me, but they've
Family,
relationships,
relationships, friends,
but
co-workers, jobs.
But they've manipulated you so much to where you feel like you don't have an escape. They've said,
you act like you can't see the escape.
And they've said, what are you without me? Who are you without
You?
me?
You?
Yes. you. You are
Monique
you.
is a legend.
Monique is truly a legend.
She
Her
said
comedy-
she wasn't special, but
Let me check something real quick. Yes. I definitely probably have some personal stories about limiting it. Okay, I'll give one, and I won't say their name, because I think personal stories really help people frame. There was someone I knew at a place I went to, and we began to, out of nowhere, I would walk down the halls and we would see each other and they'd be working. And over time, I just began to talk to them more. Hi, how are you? What's your name? They'd introduce themselves. And over time, our conversations began to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And I got to know them more. Not a whole lot. Not to the point to where we were hanging out outside of this space. But I began to see a pattern that I was doing. I was letting, let me sit up for this one. I was letting certain people with certain characteristics and traits, some of those being lack of emotional intelligence, lack of a ability to be emotionally available. Because subconsciously I believed that's the level of love I was worth. Because of my past, how I was raised, right? With the people I was raised around. Now, my parents did the best they could with what they had. And they also weren't perfect, right?
Right.
So because I learned their behavior in moments of not being emotionally available or not fully being there, my inner child looked for that. And as soon as I saw, I'm giving them a lot of love, I'm giving them a lot of attention, I'm asking them a lot of questions, they aren't necessarily doing the same thing to me. I started to pick that up, and I was like, Isaiah, what's going on? And one day, I was walking down the hall, and I saw them. Andre de Shields says, surround yourself with people whose eyes light up when they see you coming. Well, my eyes lit up when I saw them coming, and I gave them the biggest hug. And they shoved me off. And they said, get off of me, I'm busy. And they kept walking. And from that moment, I was like, no. Because if I'm supposedly your friend, someone who you're close to, and, right, this is a double-edged sword. Maybe they were busy, right? Maybe they did have somewhere they had to go. And there was a way to handle that specific situation. Because it's not just that one incident. When you begin to see a pattern of behavior around love and around how they treat other people, it's no mistake that they would shove you off and say that they're busy, too busy to stop for 3 seconds to acknowledge your humanity.
Sound like a parent. Sound like some parent problems.
Exactly. And that is why, in that moment, I said, I'm done. Because I did not get that deep into the friendship anyway. And I let go. But the problem is, the deeper those friendships go, the harder it is to crawl back out. Because when you've attached deep meaning to something,
that's what makes it deep.
When you attach meaning,
that's what makes it deep.
Girl, don't even get me started.
That's what makes it deep. I had to learn that. That's what makes it deep.
You got any stories about releasing people's access to you, or how, or just something of that nature?
The biggest thing I had to release was my father. Because my father affected how I look for love. And I didn't know how much to the point. But when you look for love, and I'm 21, and you realize you're searching for the same way, in the same way, you're searching for the same way love was given, and you're searching in the same way you were seeking for it. All through my father. I think you can be manipulated in a sense of thinking that you are receiving love. Are you receiving love or are you being used? And that was a thing with my father. Still is. So, being a child, you give all the access because that's your father. You want that love, so you give all the access that you can to him. When the phone rings and you hear that voice, ooh, I get to have some time with daddy. I'm finally about to have some time with dad. And then dad don't show up. That happened a lot. Still hurts. So that's going to affect, that has affected how I looked for love and what I thought I deserved. I thought that the way I deserved love was the phone call saying daddy's coming and daddy not showing up. So then I carry that love in of going to people. I expect you to be here, but not for a long time. Where'd that come from? Daddy. It came from dad. And the biggest part about it, I searched for somebody that showed love like daddy. So, in order for me to reconstruct how love should be given to me, I had to take away access away from being around my father for years. You have to literally detach for years. I can't have the pop in, pop out. I can't have the manipulation. I can't be stuck in his own game. So now with him, the biggest thing is I'ma love you. I'ma make sure to visit you. But I won't be around you like that. I won't see you every day. I might see you every 2 months. I might see you every 6 months. Just because I had to learn that I don't owe anything. I can't help how love was given. I can't help how I started to seek for love. Because sometimes you make that like you was the problem. Or something was wrong with you. Something was going on with you of why that love wasn't given. So I had to limit my access of how much I allowed him in my life. And I had to also limit my access by realizing I don't owe anything to him. Because some people feel like they owe toward their parent. I owe you something. You don't. You brought me here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. My father thought buying something here and there was being a father. He thought that was love. Things can't do what a parent's supposed to be. It can't. I'm seeking for love and I'm getting little to nothing things. So, things that deep. You gotta face that ugliness. If you cry, cry. That 7-year-old been waiting to cry.
Waiting.
Couldn't cry because you up.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm strong. What is strong? I'm sorry. I think facing it crying about it, that's pretty damn strong.
Absolutely.
Running from it, that's cowardly. That's not who you are. Facing it, recognizing it. Because if you don't, like I said, the way that I looked for how love was giving and how I seek for it, it will carry on in your life.
Absolutely.
If the trauma is not healed with him.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all, it may not be a father. It may be your mother. It may be your cousin. It may be a friend. It may be somebody that's a family friend. Anybody that can affect you in a way to where your character is now changed. We all are born pure. And then the trauma is when you once smiled like this. Now you smile like this. Trauma. You once was an open person. Now you to yourself. Trauma. Anything that has changed that little child into becoming less of what they are supposed to be, trauma. And to somebody else, your trauma might be little. It don't matter what they think is big or little. If it affected you big, it's trauma. No matter if somebody tried to define it as something else. Somebody, oh, well, it ain't that big of a deal. If it's a big of a deal to you, you know it's trauma. It's trauma. Stop letting somebody else define your trauma. That's the problem. Then your vision get even more clear, blurred, then more cleared up. Now it's all blurred up because not only are you have suffered trauma, you let somebody define what is trauma. Now you don't know what's coming in and out of your life because you think it's not a big deal. But you're showing patterns of it. Everywhere. Relationships, friendships. But it's not a big deal, right? That's not trauma. You going around friends, they trying to understand why they can't connect with you, why you not open. That's not trauma. Why you don't smile that much? That's not trauma. Why you don't laugh that much? That's not trauma. Why? And some people, they don't even like to be touched. That's not trauma. And some people are like, oh, that's not a big deal because I don't like to be touched. That's great.
That's great.
That's great.
Wow.
But it's a big deal for them because they just don't not want to be touched. It's a reason. And it don't have to be somebody could have hit them. Somebody could have disrespected them. They could have fear of a parent. Let's talk about it. So now they're scared. They don't see that person, they see the parent. They don't see that person, they see the person that hurted them. And that's not a big deal. So, recognizing your own trauma, facing your trauma, stop running from it. That's where the basis of access comes from. Because what we allow is what we recognize.
Uh-huh.
So if you don't recognize your trauma, you will never know what's coming in and out.
Uh-huh.
You just keep making the same mistake over and over again.
Yes.
And I'm telling you right now,
Uh-huh.
your access gets smaller as you grow. And so many people, let's say this, you got a stage in your life. 4 people will come in that stage. The problem is we take either those people or what we got from those people into the next stage. Life is like, I'm going to give you this stage. It's going to be some good times. It's going to be some bad times. There's going to be a lot of good things they do. There's going to be some bad things they do. But they're only meant for this stage. But people get caught up in those feelings. But it feels so good. So I'm going to bring you into my 30s.
Oh, yeah.
And people think because they have went into a different decade that that's a next stage. No, it's not. Again, the body has no choice but to age. Just because you aged don't mean you're in a different stage. A different stage is where you have recognized that you have grown, and now you're bringing in some junk over there.
Mm-hmm.
You could have been here in your growth, but you're here because it felt good. And you wonder why relationships are so toxic. They wasn't a problem 3 years ago. But they're a problem now.
Absolutely.
It was all fun 3 years ago. What's going on? You brought them into a stage they weren't supposed to be in.
Absolutely.
Not by age. 3 years is just the duration.
Mm-hmm.
But by where you are of where you have grown to in your life. Why are they like this? Because when you met them, you was in a stage of brokenness. Now you have gotten healed. Now your vision is a little bit clearer. And you're trying to keep them in that stage. It was meant for you to learn from your brokenness. But then it was meant to drop it. Why they ain't my friends no more? I don't know why. We used to be good. We used to talk. We used to go out and just do it all. Now the vibe is off. No, you leveled up. They stayed exactly where they was.
Absolutely.
But you bring them into a stage of growth that they ain't supposed to be in. And you wonder why the vibe is off. Why the relationship ain't right. Why is this not seeming right? Because your stage is different. And most people know it. But they want to ignore it. I don't know why it don't seem right. They just in their mood. No. Oh, they in their mood for 7 months. It's the same for 7 months. So yeah, learn your access. Because recognizing your access of who should come into your life and who should not is all about those stages in life. But first, you have to recognize your trauma to navigate throughout those stages. Because if you don't recognize the trauma, they're just stages. And you're going to relearn the same thing over and over again. It's going to be different people with the same thing. Emotionally unavailable, manipulative, narcissism, repeating. So, if I'm going in life, if I need to get what I need to get out of these stages, I must recognize my trauma. Once I recognize my trauma as I'm navigating throughout those stages, I can be able to tell who is coming in my life and who is going out my life and when should they come and when should they leave. Because of the trauma, they all work in one. The stages come with the growth. The trauma helps you be able to tell who should come in and when should they come in and when should they leave. Because if the trauma ain't recognized, the traffic is just going in and out. You won't know what's toxic. You won't know what's messed up. And your stages will not go. You will stay stuck. But I'm 50 now. Or you talk to the young kids. Oh, I'm 25 now. That's great. That's great. And you got those same friends that you done had since you was 10.
Yeah.
So they my best friends because I knew them since I was 10. That's great. How they living? How they living and how you living? Or how they living and how you want to live? So, yeah.
I don't really have anything else to. I think that is the episode. I think that is everything that needed to be said. I guess I'm gonna wrap it up. I think that was a beautiful way to cap off everything. I guess the last thing I would say is set those boundaries. Don't run away from the red flags.
Right. Don't act like you can't see them neither.
Absolutely. And don't try to change or fix people.
Because you won't.
And that is a trauma
And you
response.
can't. Right.
Exactly. Any last thing you want to say before we wrap up this episode, I suppose?
Know yourself. Recognize the ugly, the good, and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
Accept it. And see yourself as a human experiencing life. Recognize it. Stop trying to go after a perfect image. We all got some SHIT that don't smell too good. Recognize it. Because it's not there for nothing. It's always like a pendulum. Where there's good, there's bad.
Yes.
So whatever is not too bright in your life will bring that rain. That's what's going to help you get them flowers blooming. But your flowers won't bloom if you don't recognize the role of the rain. So you have to recognize the ugliness, because little do you know the ugliness is meant to plant your blessing. So recognize that and know who you are. Stop looking through a perfect image. You're human. It's a beautiful thing if we see it as beautiful. And don't beat yourself up about what done occurred. It's all about recognizing what you have when you wake up of what can occur. That's it.
Thank you for listening or watching or being a part of this in any way.